control your feelings, ladies and gentlemen. There is a force within you, more powerful than any army, more influential than any circumstance, and that force is your mind. But within that mind lies a double-edged sword, your feelings. Feelings are the fuel of action, the spark behind every word, every decision, every triumph, for every disaster. But let me be absolutely clear. Feelings are meant to be managed, not to manage you. You see, too many people become prisoners of their own emotions. They let anger destroy relationships, fear delay decisions, jealousy poison progress, and doubt bury dreams. Let me ask you, are you the master of your emotions, or their slave, every time you react without thinking? Every time you let emotions dictate your choices, you surrender power, and power is the currency of achievement. Success does not come to the one who is tossed by the storms of emotion. It comes to the one who can sail through the storm, steady, determined, and unshaken. Control does not mean suppression. No, it means direction. You must learn to feel deeply, but think clearly. Let your emotions inform you, but never rule you. The man who cannot control his feelings is like a ship without a rudder, moving, yes, but with no direction. He is a danger to himself and to others, but the man who governs his inner world, that man can shape nations, transform industries, and rise from nothing to everything. Emotions are your servants, not your master. Train them, harness them, use them. Your anger, when directed by purpose, can fuel a revolution. Your fear, when analyzed, can point to the path you must take. Your sadness, when understood, can lead to profound growth. But if you let these feelings run wild, they will consume your potential, hijack your destiny, and leave you wondering where it all went wrong. Discipline is the bridge between thought and feeling, and it is this bridge you must build, walk, and protect every single day. You are not your feelings. Your feelings are states of mind, not permanent realities. They come and go, like clouds across the sky. But you, the thinker, the chooser, the doer, you remain. One of the greatest illusions a person can fall for is the belief that their feelings are who they are, that a moment of fear defines them as cowardly, that a moment of anger defines them as dangerous, that a wave of sadness defines them as weak. Nonsense. Emotions are not facts. They are chemical responses, often triggered by temporary circumstances, past experiences, or imagined futures. They do not know the truth, they only react. And if you allow yourself to be led by reaction, you will live a life of chaos, forever pulled in one direction today and another tomorrow, never grounded, never growing. Understand this, your mind is your fortress, but if you mistake emotion for identity, you will leave the gates wide open to any storm that comes your way. When you say, I am angry, you are giving your emotion a throne. But when you say, I feel anger, you are recognizing it as a visitor, one that may knock but does not have to stay. The power lies in separation. Separate your identity from your emotion. The one who watches the emotion is more powerful than the emotion itself. The observer is in control, not the feeling that passes by. This is the difference between the person who builds empires and the one who tears them down. One watches their feelings, the other is owned by them. You were born with the ability to think. You were born with willpower, with the capacity to decide. These are the tools of a builder. Emotions are like the weather. They may inform your plans, but only a fool lets the weather dictate the construction of his house. You don't build a legacy on a rainy day. You build it through the rain, because your blueprint doesn't change with the clouds. Greatness begins when you realize that what you feel is only part of the equation. It's a signal, not a sentence. You may feel fear before stepping on the stage, but you are not fear. You are courage, preparing to act. You may feel pain after failure, but you are not pain. You are wisdom, growing stronger through struggle. Your feelings may scream, but your purpose must speak louder. Don't ask your emotions for direction. They don't know the destination. Only your vision does, and vision is born from clarity, not confusion. If you can learn to observe your emotions, you can learn to lead them, and once you lead your emotions, nothing, absolutely nothing, can keep you from your destiny. Feelings are tools. Like fire, they can warm or burn. Like water, they can nourish or drown. The same anger that destroys one man can fuel another to fight for justice. The same sadness that paralyzes one person can inspire another to create art, write truth, or build a life that heals. The difference, who is in control, so remember, you are not your fear, you are not your doubt, you are not your sadness, you are the one who feels it, sees it, faces it, and walks forward anyway. Let the storm rage. Let the winds howl, you are not the storm, you are the captain of the ship. Mastery over emotion is mastery over life. The man who conquers lands has power, but the man who conquers himself holds dominion over everything. For it is not the mountain ahead that stops most people. It is the pebble in their shoe, the emotion they failed to control, the reaction they allowed to grow. You cannot rule your world until you rule your moods. And you cannot build a future while being ruled by the storms of the moment. Life will test you. That is a certainty. There will be delay. There will be disappointment. People will misunderstand you, ignore you, betray you, and try to diminish you. But none of that can stop you unless you hand your emotions the keys to your life. What matters is not what happens. What matters is how you respond, and response is the product of emotional mastery. Emotions are powerful, too powerful to be ignored and too dangerous to be left unchecked. They will either serve you or sabotage you. The choice is yours. Those who fail to master their emotions become slaves to them. They swing between highs and lows, never finding balance, never creating consistency. But those who discipline their emotions, they become unshakable. Let no man boast of strength if he cannot control his anger. Let no man claim wisdom if he surrenders to fear. Emotional mastery is the foundation of decision, making, leadership, discipline, and vision. If your emotions rule you, then every victory will be temporary and every challenge will be a threat. But if you rule your emotions, then even in chaos, you will move with clarity and confidence. Emotional mastery does not mean suppressing your feelings. It means understanding them, channeling them, and choosing your response rather than reacting blindly. The fire within must not be extinguished, but neither can it be allowed to burn the house down. The secret lies in control. Control does not limit you, it liberates you. Your emotions are energy. Think of it. Every feeling is fuel. The same rage that leads to destruction can be converted into the fuel of determination. The same anxiety that paralyzes one person can drive another to prepare, to work harder, to excel. Mastery is not about emotion disappearing. It is about you deciding where it goes, how it is used, and when it is released. Every great achievement in history was born not in perfect emotional conditions, but through emotional discipline. The inventor who persisted after 10,000 failures, the leader who stood calm during war, the visionary who dared to speak truth when the world mocked him, they were not emotionless, they were masters of emotion. That mastery gave them the power to move forward when others fell behind. Do not wait for life to get easier. Do not wait for feelings to align perfectly. Life will always bring storms, but if you can master the inner weather, then the outer world has no power over you. True strength is silent, calm, and deliberate. The man who knows how to pause, reflect, and act despite emotion is the man who writes history. So ask yourself, do you command your feelings, or do they command you? Are you reacting or are you responding? Because once you master your emotional world, you can master any world, and that, my friend, is where real power begins. Feelings are indicators, not dictators. Every feeling you have is a signal, a message, a whisper from within, but that whisper is not a command. It is an alert. It is information, not instruction. Too many people confuse the two. They feel afraid, and so they stop. They feel angry, and so they lash out. They feel sad, and so they withdraw. But the wise understand, a feeling is a gauge, not a god. Your emotions are like the lights on a dashboard. They let you know what's happening beneath the surface. Fear may be telling you there's a risk. Anger may be telling you there's been a boundary crossed. Sadness may be telling you something needs healing. But none of these feelings tell you what to do. That part is your responsibility. Only the weak allow emotions to take the wheel, but the strong, those who achieve, those who lead, those who rise, listen to their feelings without obeying them blindly. They ask questions. Why am I feeling this? What does it mean? What is the best course of action? They gather the data, and then they decide. That is the path of power. If you treat feelings like dictators, you become a puppet, 1 minute driven by passion, the next paralyzed by fear. Your days are ruled by invisible forces that pull you in every direction, leaving you exhausted, scattered, and confused. But if you treat feelings like messengers, you become a strategist. You use what they offer without surrendering to their control. Imagine a captain at sea. The wind changes, the sky darkens, the compass flickers. These are signals, but a skilled captain doesn't panic. He doesn't jump into the ocean at the first sign of turbulence. He reads the signals, adjusts his sails, and continues forward. Your feelings are those winds and waves. You are the captain. Never forget that. Emotion, in its purest form, is neither right nor wrong. It simply is. The mistake is in thinking emotion equals truth. It doesn't. Emotion equals perspective, and perspective can be clouded. Perspective can be biased, so the wise person questions their feelings before acting on them. They look deeper before making decisions. You are not here to obey your emotions. You are here to guide them, channel them, learn from them. When fear speaks, listen, but do not let it silence your dreams. When anger rises, notice it, but do not let it burn bridges you'll later wish you had. When sadness calls, sit with it, but do not make your home in it. You are the leader. Emotions are just the advisors. Feelings are like weather reports. They may warn of storms ahead, but they do not control your journey. The traveler prepares, adapts, and keeps moving. The undisciplined man delays his journey every time the skies turn gray. But the wise man understands, if he stops every time he feels, he will never arrive. You don't ignore your feelings, you acknowledge them, you respect them, but you always ask the most important question, what is the right move regardless of how I feel? That question, answered again and again, creates strength. It builds resilience, and over time it leads to the life you truly want. Not the one emotion tries to trap you in. So remember, feelings are tools, not rulers. They can point the way, but you must choose the path. They can flash warnings, but you must make the decision, master this, and your emotions will no longer chain you, they will serve you. Discipline bridges the gap between impulse and intention. In the life of every successful individual, there comes a moment where the battle is fought not between circumstances or people, but between the mind and its impulses. The impulse is a spar, often fleeting, always tempting. The intention is a fire, a steady, burning desire to reach a goal. But without discipline, that impulse will extinguish the fire. Discipline is the force that takes you from desire to action, from action to achievement. It is the great connector. Impulse, by its nature, is unpredictable. It's a wave that comes crashing in, often triggered by fleeting emotions or external stimuli. It can bring you to a sudden decision, a hasty action, or a spontaneous reaction. And while impulse is not inherently bad when left unchecked, it leads to inconsistency, wasted energy, and ultimately regret. Every moment spent chasing a whim, every action taken in haste without reflection, is an opportunity lost. The undisciplined mind is a prisoner of its impulses, swayed by every passing distraction. Intention, on the other hand, is different. Intention is a vision, a goal, a purpose rooted in clarity and reason. It comes from deep within, driven by purpose, not emotion. Intentions are what give your life direction. They are the targets you set. But intention alone is not enough. Many people have grand ideas, noble purposes, and lofty goals, but without the bridge of discipline they remain just that, ideas, dreams that are never realized, intentions that fade into the background of life's distractions. Discipline is the key that closes the gap between the impulse of the moment and the long-term intention. Discipline is what keeps you on course when the winds of temptation blow strong. It is the muscle that takes your thoughts, your desires, and your goals, and turns them into concrete actions day after day. Without it, intention is no more than a wish, a fantasy. With it, intention becomes an unshakable force that moves you towards your destiny. The difference between those who succeed and those who falter is not in their dreams or abilities. It is in their ability to exercise discipline when the moment demands it. The successful person is not immune to temptation. He or she feels the pull of impulse just like anyone else, but what sets them apart is their response. While the undisciplined person gives in to the urge of the moment, the disciplined person pauses, reflects, and chooses the action that aligns with their long-term goals. They do not surrender to immediate gratification. They sacrifice the temporary for the lasting. Discipline is the art of making decisions ahead of time. It's the power to set a course and follow it with relentless consistency, even when the path is difficult, when distractions arise, or when the mood shifts. It's about creating habits that serve your highest purpose. Discipline is not a one-time decision. It is a daily commitment, a constant act of will. Every time you choose intention over impulse, you reinforce the habit of discipline, and as you reinforce that habit, it becomes easier and more natural. The disciplined mind has learned to choose wisely, not react impulsively. When you allow yourself to be ruled by impulse, you scatter your energy, and your progress becomes slow, erratic, and ultimately ineffective. But when you cultivate discipline, you become like a river, flowing toward your destination with purpose and power. No rock is too big to block your way because your current is stronger than any obstacle. Discipline is not about restriction. It is about freedom. The disciplined individual enjoys the freedom of a mind that is clear, focused, and undistracted. They enjoy the freedom of knowing they are not slaves to their moods or whims, but the masters of their actions. When you have discipline, you control your future. You decide what gets your time and attention and what doesn't. Your actions become deliberate, not dictated by the whims of the moment. The road to success is paved with discipline. It is a road of steady, determined action, taken consistently over time. Each small, disciplined step compounds, building momentum toward your goal. But without discipline, you will wander aimlessly, chasing the fleeting impulses of the moment and never reaching your destination. You will wonder where all your time went, where your energy disappeared, and why your dreams remain just that, dreams. Remember, discipline does not come naturally to most. It is forged through daily practice, through constant reinforcement, through a willingness to choose intention over impulse again and again. The disciplined individual is not a superhuman. They are simply a person who has made a decision to commit, to act, and to persist, no matter the distractions, no matter the difficulty, no matter the temptation. Controlled emotion transforms into unstoppable drive. Emotion, left unchecked, is like raw electricity, powerful but dangerous. It can shock you, paralyze you, even destroy you. But once harnessed, once channeled through the circuitry of purpose and direction, it becomes pure energy capable of moving mountains. The person who controls emotion doesn't become cold or mechanical. They become invincible, because once your feelings are directed, they no longer distract you, they drive you. Every great movement in history began with emotion. Anger at injustice, love for a cause, grief from loss, but those emotions alone did not accomplish anything until someone took them, tamed them, and turned them into focused action. Controlled emotion builds empires. It raises armies, births revolutions, writes masterpieces, and ignites industries. But uncontrolled emotion, it burns down relationships, ends careers, and wrecks lives. You cannot suppress your feelings, but you must shape them. Emotion is a tool. If you hand it over to chance, it will turn on you. But when you seize it, when you say, "I will use this," you tap into something few ever master. You stop being reactive and start becoming creative. You begin forging, building, climbing, not because you feel like it, but because your emotion has been disciplined into momentum. Think of a locomotive. The fuel inside is violent, explosive, chaotic, but it is not dangerous because it is contained, directed, focused. And that focused fire moves thousands of tons across entire countries. Your emotions are no different. The question is, are they in the engine pushing you forward, or are they scattered sparks lighting fires behind you? Controlled emotion gives birth to obsession, but the kind of obsession that builds legacies. It becomes a quiet storm inside you that refuses to die down. It is the fire that makes you rise earlier, work longer, and stay committed when others walk away. People will call it passion, they'll call it drive, but only you will know it came from a choice to master what most people run from, your own feelings. When fear arises, the undisciplined run. But the person who controls that fear studies it, learns from it, and turns it into courage. When frustration builds, the weak explode or quit, but the strong convert frustration into pressure, and pressure into performance. That is emotional alchemy. That is how ordinary people create extraordinary outcomes. Emotion gives you access to your deepest reservoir of strength, but only when you put it to work. Rage without control is destruction. But rage harnessed becomes a vow. This will never happen again. Sadness without structure is despair, but sadness directed becomes purpose. This loss will not be in vain. You cannot choose every emotion that arrives, but you can choose what to do with it. Most people waste their emotions on blame, complaining, excuses, and outbursts. They feel something and throw it away like garbage, but you must be different. You must feel and hold. You must listen to that energy, learn its language, and turn it into movement. That is what separates the dreamers from the doers. One is overwhelmed by emotion, the other is fueled by it. Emotional control does not make you less human. It makes you more powerful. It gives you the ability to endure longer, risk more, speak stronger, and lead when others fold. It is not about silence. It is about direction. The most dangerous person in the world is not the one who feels nothing. It is the one who feels everything and channels it into one single purpose. So take your emotion, whatever it may be, and don't waste it. Use it, control it, refine it, let it burn, but let it burn in the furnace of discipline, not in the forest of chaos, because once you master that flame, you will become the kind of person no setback can stop, no hardship can break, and no failure can define. Emotions are servants, not masters. From the moment you wake until the time your head touches the pillow, emotions will rise within you. Some will whisper, others will roar. They come dressed in joy, anxiety, anger, inspiration, doubt. But let one truth burn into your mind: you are their master, not their subject. The moment you forget this, you surrender your throne. You give your crown away to something that was meant to obey you. Emotions were never designed to lead. They were meant to inform. Like a loyal assistant, they bring you news from the battlefield. What you fear, what you desire, what you miss, what you crave. But only a fool would hand the reins of their destiny to a messenger. You listen to the report, but you and you alone give the orders. Most people do the opposite. They let emotion steer the ship. They let sadness anchor them, jealousy drive them, fear freeze them, and anger crash them into walls. They live as slaves to passing moods, never realizing that their emotional states are meant to serve a greater mission. You are not here to follow emotion, you are here to command it. Think of the great generals, the builders, the inventors, the visionaries. They were not void of emotion, but they made emotion their tool. They used pain to create resilience. They used fear to build courage. They used frustration to fuel obsession. They felt the storm, but they owned it. And that ownership created results that echoed across generations. The undisciplined person says, "I don't feel like it," and does nothing. The disciplined person says, "I don't feel like it," and does it anyway. Why? Because the disciplined person has learned a secret. Emotions lie. They say you can't when you can. They say it's over when it's just beginning. They say stop when you need to go. So if you let emotion lead, you'll stop short of every finish line you were born to cross. Emotions are not your identity. They are experiences, temporary visitors in the house of your mind, but they are not landlords. They don't pay rent. They have no authority unless you give it to them. And when you give your emotions authority, you forfeit control. You hand your life to the loudest feeling of the moment, and that is the fastest road to regret. You must train your emotions like wild horses. At first they buck, resist, rebel, but over time, with discipline, they submit. They carry you farther than you ever could have gone on foot. Controlled emotion multiplies your strength, but uncontrolled emotion breaks the reins and tramples your goals. You don't get to avoid this work. You either master your emotions, or you are mastered by them. Let this be etched into your soul. You are the ruler of your inner world. You decide what thought takes root. You choose what feeling grows. Your emotional state is not an accident. It is a habit, and like all habits, it can be reshaped, rebuilt, reforged through will, repetition, and awareness. You don't need to feel powerful to act powerful. But when you act powerful long enough, emotion will follow your lead. There is no progress without pressure, and there is no pressure without emotion, so use it. Don't avoid it. Don't hide from it. Don't drown in it. Use it. Make it work for you like a blacksmith uses fire. Let it temper your steel. Let it shape your will. Let it mold your vision. But never, ever, let it hold the hammer. You hold the hammer. You shape the life. Because emotions may rise and fall like the tides, but the one who commands the waters writes the map. And if you would be the master of your destiny, you must first be the master of your emotions, not with denial, not with suppression, but with control, direction, and purpose. The world does not belong to those who feel most. It belongs to those who lead themselves, regardless of how they feel. Victory over emotion is victory over self. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against another man, not against the economy, nor against the winds of misfortune. It is the battle within. To conquer the world around you, you must first conquer the world inside you. And that world is ruled by emotion until you take the throne. Victory over emotion is not mere self-control, it is self-mastery. It is the triumph of discipline over chaos, vision over reaction, purpose over pleasure. What is the self if not a collection of thoughts, habits, beliefs, and emotions? When those emotions are left to run rampant, they dominate the self. They make decisions you should be making. They trigger words you later regret. They halt actions you should have taken. But the man who learns to master his emotions no longer lives in bondage. He becomes free, free to think clearly, to move boldly, to act decisively. When you govern your emotions, you no longer let fear dictate your direction. You no longer allow anger to speak on your behalf. You do not let sorrow cloud your path or anxiety pull you off course. You become the commander, and from that place of command, your inner strength multiplies, because now your energy is no longer scattered. It is focused, no longer reactive. You are now responsive. Emotional mastery is not suppression. It is elevation. It is not the denial of feelings, but the direction of them. Just as a river, when harnessed, generates power, your emotions, once governed, Become the force that pushes you beyond limitation. The people who build empires, raise nations, and shift history are not those who feel the least, but those who have trained their feelings to serve their mission. To conquer emotion is to raise your consciousness above the level of instinct. Animals react, they snarl when threatened, they flee when afraid, but you are not an animal, you are endowed with reason, with imagination, with the power to pause, to evaluate, to choose. When you override the emotional impulse with conscious intention, you rise from mere existence to self-dominion. The weak seek to master the world before they have mastered themselves. They chase status, money, praise, all while being a slave to every mood and moment, and that is why their empires collapse from within, but the wise build from the inside out. They seek to command their own spirit first, knowing that when the inner man is strong, the outer world bends to meet him. There is no victory more satisfying than the one you win over yourself, when you silence the voice that says, quit, when you calm the storm that says, react, when you refuse to be ruled by lust, envy, anger, or fear, you rise. Not in the eyes of others, but in the quiet court of your own soul, and from that throne you lead, not only your life, but the lives of those who look to you for strength. Emotional victory does not happen once. It is not a single event. It is a lifelong campaign. Each day presents a new battle, the urge to lash out, to procrastinate, to indulge, to escape. But each time you stand firm, each time you take a breath instead of bursting out, each time you act from your values and not your feelings, you score another win, and over time, those wins become your character. People speak of self-respect, but how can you respect a self you do not control? To truly honor yourself, you must rule yourself, because self-respect is born not from comfort or indulgence, but from discipline, from restraint, from choosing your higher nature over your lower impulse. You cannot earn the respect of the world if you haven't earned it from yourself first, and that respect, that quiet power, only comes when you have wrestled with your own emotions and prevailed. When you have felt rage but chose reason, when you have felt fear but chose courage, when you have felt pain but kept going anyway, that is the essence of greatness, because the man or woman who has conquered their inner world cannot be conquered by anything in the outer world. Your future is shaped not by what you feel, but by what you do with what you feel. The world is filled with people who feel deeply. They feel the sting of failure, the pull of desire, the weight of sadness, the fire of ambition. But feeling alone changes nothing. Emotion without execution is like a sword never drawn, full of potential, but useless in battle. It is not what rises within you that determines your destiny, it is what you do with it. You were never meant to be a prisoner of your feelings, you were meant to harness them, and forge your future with their power. You may feel anger, but what action does that anger produce? Does it become destruction, or does it become fuel? You may feel fear, but what choice does that fear lead you to? Paralysis or preparation? You may feel hopelessness, but do you lie down and accept it, or do you stand and fight in spite of it? The difference between the defeated and the triumphant is never the absence of feeling. It is the mastery of it. Feelings come and go like the wind. They cannot be controlled at the door. They enter without permission. But you can decide whether they sit at your table or pass through unnoticed. You can decide whether they rule your hands or simply pass through your heart. You have that power. Most never claim it. They live in reaction, not creation. They drift rather than steer. Creation is action. Action is what molds the future. You cannot sculpt your destiny with feelings. You must use decisions, choices, behaviors. The man who acts in spite of emotion moves mountains. The one who waits to feel ready never takes the first step. If your future is important, if your dream is real, then your actions must not be slaves to your emotions. They must be servants of your vision. Greatness demands that you feel and act, not feel and wait, not feel and retreat, but feel and move anyway. You can't wait until fear disappears to take the leap. You can't wait until confidence arrives to speak up. You can't wait until motivation floods in to do the work. You must act from decision, not mood, from commitment, not emotion. You are not what you feel. You are what you do with what you feel. A moment of doubt can produce cowardice or courage. A moment of pain can end in surrender or victory. A wave of frustration can lead to explosion or innovation. Your response is your responsibility. You may not choose the storm, but you always choose how you sail through it. The future belongs to those who master this principle, who stop worshiping their emotions and start using them like tools, who take the ache of rejection and build resilience, who take the sting of failure and sharpen their focus, who take loneliness, sadness, confusion, and from it carve clarity and strength. These are the alchemists of life. They turn feeling into fuel. They turn pain into power. Too many wait for the right feeling before taking the right action. And while they wait, time escapes, opportunity fades, dreams die, but the disciplined, the resolute, the self-directed, they do not wait for permission from emotion. They act with principle. They know the feeling will follow the motion, not the other way around. Let this truth take root in your thinking. Emotion is a signal, not a sentence. It is not a command. It is not your ruler. It is a spark. But you decide whether it becomes a fire that warms or a fire that consumes. When you learn to stand above your feelings and use them, you become the architect of your future, not a victim of your moods, because it is not the feeling that will write your legacy. It is the action, the disciplined step, the repeated choice, the work done in the dark when no one applauds, the forward motion taken in the face of fear. Your future is written not in emotion, but in the moments where you choose what to do with what you feel. So I leave you with this before you speak. Pause, before you react, reflect, before you decide, breathe, and before you quit, remember why you started. The strongest among us are not those who feel the most, but those who control what they feel, and use it to fuel a greater cause. Take command of your feelings, and you will take command of your life.